Hi, everybody. It is Wednesday evening, and it's region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. You know what that time means? It is region weather live time. We've got a lot to discuss tonight. A very active pattern is going to take shape. It's starting tonight. We're seeing some of the activity starting to move in from the northwest, but boy, do we have several storm systems to track over the next week or so. A lot of rain coming with a lot of these as well. We'll have to fine tune where that ends up, but we'll talk about that. And we've got warmer days ahead. I know it feels like November outside. It's fantastic. Just kidding. All puns aside, we will talk about a nice warm up here in the forecast, all in this Wednesday evening edition of Region Weather Live. And welcome in, everybody. Hope you're having a nice week so far. It's region weather meteorologist Matt Wintz. This is our first time meeting. It's nice to meet you here. Wednesday and Sundays, we get together and we have a little chit chat about the weather. You can ask some questions at the end. Be happy to answer those for you. And then we'll get you on to your sleep, your tart cherry juice, and a little bit of sleep here on this Wednesday evening. So thanks for joining us. I want to say a big hello to our first people joining here. Brandy, hello. Jackie, hi. Gregory, thanks for joining us tonight. Bree, hi, thanks for being with us. Richard, Daniel, good evening to you. Derek, it's been in the 80s in Dallas, he says. Must be nice. It's been in the 80s pretty much everywhere but Northwest Indiana, Derek. Let's be honest. Good evening to you, Kimberly. Jennifer, you're absolutely welcome. Richard, hello. Drew, hi. And howdy, 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 Aaron. Thanks for joining us here tonight. So what we're going to talk about today, we've got several storm systems that are coming our way. A lot of those are going to bring some rain with them. We have to time out the rain. That's going to be pretty tricky over the next couple of days. I even see a itsy bitsy severe weather threat as we get into the weekend. So we'll talk about that. And then I'll go long range as we always do. So save your questions then. Be happy to answer those. I have to thank our sponsors, though. I am just so thankful for our sponsors. Two of these companies are signed on all the way through August. And I do have some new content coming out in May. So if you have a local Northwest Indiana business, we've got some new content options that are coming out again to start May. We could still use some sponsors for those. So if you have a local business, you'd like to be sponsored on these shows or on weather graphics, we'd be happy to have you join the Region Weather family. But want to thank Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram out of Valparaiso. They've got their new summer line of vehicles out on the lot right now. There's no supply shortage there. And start thinking summer, because a Jeep with the top down, doesn't that sound nice going through the country roads of Northwest Indiana? They've certainly got that available at Grieger's in Valparaiso. Also want to thank Tiger Plumbing. They're signed on with us through August. Wonderful company. A lot of you have already given me feedback and given them feedback that you've used them for your plumbing services, and everyone's just happy with that, which I love. They have a tip of the day, which is if you have a garbage disposal and you want to sharpen your blades, you can add ice, which I always knew that. You can add ice in there, but lemon peels as well. I would imagine that gets a good scent. Add those, turn your garbage disposal on for about a minute, and that will sharpen and refresh your blades. How about that? So if you have a stinky garbage disposal, that's the way to do it. Tigerplumbing.net is where to go. They come out, no trip fees whatsoever. They'll come out, analyze the problem. They do a great job. All right, let's jump into the forecast, shall we? Here we go. We're going to start with what's going on right now outside. We have Oh boy, we've got a little mess going on. There's some precip coming through right now. It's coming into drier air, but if you look at your radar app, you're probably seeing it light up like a Christmas tree right now with all this precip coming in. We've got dry air, so a lot of it wasn't reaching the ground initially. Some of it is now. We've got a mix of rain, and then our temperatures are just, I'm not even going to say cold, I'm just going to say nasty enough that we're actually getting some snowflakes out of this to our north and the west. I would not be surprised if we had a couple flakes reaching the ground here this evening, not expecting any accumulation. This will continue overnight tonight. This is a weak little wave moving through the atmosphere on the heels of a ridge down towards the plains. So you saw Derek said earlier that he's in Dallas and it's 80 degrees. There's a whole bunch of 70 and 80 degree air down to our south and the west. The air mass we have right now, folks, is some of the coldest late season air that we've had since the 1970s and even 1950s. We can go back into time and look at some of the records. It's not usually this cold this late in the season. So this is unseasonably cold air. It's not record setting, but it's usually, not in the 40s and 30s this time of year. It's really hard to do, and we haven't done this in years around here, and I'm talking like 50 to 70 years. So keep in mind, our average high is in the mid and upper 60s. That's what we're going to get back to, and that's the good news. So how do we do it? We've got this system tonight. Again, it's on the heels of that warm area down towards our south. This system will likely fade as we go throughout the day tomorrow. We'll still have some lingering light rain showers. I don't think everyone sees rain all day tomorrow. I think we'll see kind of on and off showers in spots where it might be raining a little bit and then it'll just be cloudy and then you'll get a little bit of rain. Not a big deal tomorrow. Likely just light rain at best tomorrow. No real decent forcing with this system, but it's going to remain kind of rainy tomorrow. As we get on into Friday night, that's when this warm front, which is going to bring a warmer air this weekend. We're not talking 80s. We're not talking last weekend, right? But we are going to talk a warmer push of air. That's going to start to make some headway in here as an area of low pressure comes out in the plain states. So what that means for us is we have some rain chances on Friday, but we also have some rumbles that we could throw in there as well. We may get a couple thunderstorms out of this as the system pushes in. You can see there's just a mess on the radar. This is Friday morning. This is Friday midday. The model's kind of drying us up a little bit, some activity down to the south. And this is Friday evening. And Friday evening is what I would want to watch. We've got a low pressure out towards the west. There'll likely be severe weather in the plains. We have the warm front portion of that. And warm fronts can produce some pretty decent lightning producing thunderstorms. You typically don't get a lot of severe weather on that. You could have some small hail, but we'll have to keep an eye on that Friday afternoon, Friday evening time frame as the warm front comes in. Then we get into the warm sector, and unfortunately, the model doesn't go any further, but we'll pick it up with the Euro. But you can see this cold front we've got coming in from the west. If we have a severe threat, I really think it's during the day Saturday. It doesn't look like a huge, robust setup as of right now, but there's this little sliver, and I can actually show you, there's this little sliver of a little bit more humidity that comes in. So this is the humidity or the dew point. You notice how we're really dry right now. We don't have any humidity out there. It's a very winter-like air mass. But as we go into the day tomorrow, we start to get a little bit more, not enough to produce severe weather. Here's Friday. You can see how we're still right on the edge of that. Once that warm front goes through, you notice the trend. We're going to have humidity that comes in here, and it's going to be rather humid around here on Saturday. That would be enough to kick off some perhaps stronger storms around here later in the day Saturday. And again, that's the time frame I'm going to watch. Friday evening, we could have some thunderstorms around here, not expecting severe. That's with the warm front. Better chance for some storms on Saturday. If those can get organized, we can get our temps up enough during the day Saturday. Some of those could be on the strong to severe side. So just a heads up with that. All right, where do we go from there? I take you to the Euro. This is, again, as typically the case, the model I like best looking out the next 10 days. But you can see all the rain. It's just kind of disorganized off towards our west. The Euro doesn't bring much rain at all in here on Thursday. But again, we have to keep that rain in the forecast, at least from time to time over the next 2 days, as it's nothing organized, but it'll be in the area. Here comes your warm front Friday night. Here's Saturday now. Saturday, the Euro kind of brings the warm front and the cold front a little closer together. So that means we wouldn't have a lot of time to destabilize. But there's your severe threat right in there. May not look like much, but again, we could get some pretty decent storms out of this, and that would be late in the day Saturday. Once that goes through, Sunday looks okay at this point. It's going to be a little bit cooler, but not bad. And the good news is we don't get any big blasts of cold air after this comes through. The cold air with these systems is getting all pushed up into Canada, and it's going to stay there where it belongs this time of year. So we have a pretty nice spring-like forecast with lots of 60s in store here, at least temperature-wise. That low will fade. Sunday and Monday, as of right now, look quiet. The GFS would beg to differ. It brings this next system in pretty quickly. But the whole point that I want you to take from this, because we're starting to get into fantasy land, right? We're now 7 days out. The whole point I want you to take is we're going to have an active pattern. We've got that system this weekend, and on the heels of that comes another system here on Tuesday. That could bring more rain and storms to the area. And then watch this. That goes by, and we have yet another one right on the heels of that Thursday into Friday. So every 2 or 3 days, we've got a pretty decent storm system that's going to come through here. For us, for the most part, it looks just pretty rainy out of this. That severe threat, I think, would really be with that first system, which would be on Saturday. Not seeing much of a severe threat next week. It looks like just some rain. May have some rumbles of thunder, but we'll have to see based on the track of those lows if we get into the warm sector where you get the humidity. Last thing I want to show everybody is what the jet stream does. The jet stream is the driver of our weather systems, right? It's the airflow. If you're taking a flight from San Diego to Northwest Indiana, If you get on that jet stream, you're going to get here an hour quicker, right? It's the flow of wind up above us. That usually is the demarcation line between the cold air and the warm air. In between, that's where the jet stream is. And where we look for it on this map is right where those reds meet, kind of like that darker brown or that maroon color, right? That's where the jet stream is. You notice it's right through Northwest Indiana now. The greens represent some of the cooler air, and that's what we've been dealing with, and that's what we're dealing with right now. Watch how that kind of goes away as we go through time. We get a nice ridge in here Friday and Saturday. That will bring some warmth. And then here comes your trough out towards the west, producing that storm system that's going to come in this weekend. And you can see that's a pretty decent little storm system. You get the little low pressure there. You get the boost of warmth out ahead of it. That's why I would not be surprised if we had some severe weather around here on Saturday. But notice what's missing. Green on this, right? There's not a lot of cold air to be had, as we're really going to start to moderate things, and it looks to keep us there for a little while. All right, we're now into early May. This is May 3rd. May 4th, we're still in the warm air, perhaps a nice burst of some warm air there, May 3rd and 4th. We'll see. This is the GFS. It tends to change. Another strong storm system, May 4th into the 5th. Then you notice how we go through time. We're now May 7th. This is fantasy land, but you get a decent trend with a big ridge. That would be nice and warm. We don't have any cold air in sight. And then the GFS really wants to warm us up May 9th, 10th, 11th before this happens, and that will change. That looks like a cold Arctic outbreak. Last 2 years we've had it around May 11th or so, but really the whole point of this, the trend that we're looking at here, is that we've got much warmer air in the forecast, and it looks to have some staying power to it. Can we get things in the ground? Can we plant our plants? You know, at this point, I would say after we get beyond the next 2 days, we get into the weekend, you probably can. I think it would be safe to do that if you haven't already. But the one thing we will have to watch is for maybe one more sneaky air mass like this. This is May 11th, says the GFS. We'll see if it holds. But that's happened last 2 years. We've had some snowflakes in the Great Lakes, May 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th. The last couple years, we've had some kind of storm system that brings one last little hit of cold air before we jump into the 80s and 90s. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But I do think we would be safe to plant as we get into the weekend, all right? Because it does look like we'll stay warm for a while. All right, so that's really what we're dealing with here. Let's answer your questions, shall we? And then we'll get you on your way here on this night, okay? Let's see. Steven says, how can I get my business on your live cast for promotion? Yeah, just private message me for sure here on the Facebook page. That's how we do most everything, is through our Facebook page for sure. Would be happy to have you. Yeah, we'll talk everything. I've got a little thing for you guys too, a little social media spreadsheet. So that'd be awesome. Hi, Susan. Thanks for joining us from Hobart. Derek's in Dallas training for Southwest Airlines. He transferred to O'Hare. Awesome, Derek. Derek's my airport worker. He always sends me great pictures from O'Hare. Beth, yeah, quoting me here. It's going to stay where it belongs. That's where the cold air does belong, does it not? Jeff asks, is spring on back order? It's not. Unfortunately, it's not. This is spring, man. I'm telling you, it's crazy. You never know what you're going to get in spring. The last couple springs, as I've mentioned, have been trending cooler. We've been getting colder later in the fall. So we've had some pretty mild November and Decembers. And then once January hits, we finally feel like winter, right? I've noticed that the last couple of years, and the numbers will indicate it too. But our springs have just been lasting, or the winter's been lasting a little bit longer into spring. So it's really interesting for so far. Maxwell, it's been a persistent pattern. He's asking what's been causing this cool pattern for spring so far. It all has to do with the jet stream. We've tended to have a pretty decent ridge out towards the west. So the west, if you remember, whenever they have a ridge, we tend to have a trough. When we have a trough, we're cold. When they're warm under the ridge, they're warm, right? So when it's warm out west, it's cool out east typically. If it's warm out east, it's typically cool out west. And if you remember back in December, the west got nailed with heavy snow and rain. They needed it. And we had a mild December because the trough was out there and we were warm. But the jet stream set up and it's really had a nice ridge out west. They've gone dry. They don't really need the dry, but they've really gone blank January, February, March. And we've had the general troughiness across the east. So the Canadian flow of air has not been shut off at all, really, over the last 2 months. And we had that little brief stint where things kind of flexed last week and changed over the weekend, right? We had the beautiful Saturday. But boy, it's back to it again. And I'm hoping what we'll see this week is that pattern finally change and stick, where we at least get a zonal pattern. When the jet runs east to west, that makes everything average around the country instead of more the waffly pattern that we've had. It's really interesting for sure. Mark had some fun on Saturday. That's awesome. Smoked a bunch of slabs of baby buck Saturday. Where was I? Mark, I didn't get the invite, buddy. That sounds delightful, though. I bet you had fun. I really hope everyone got outside to enjoy it. Mike asked a good question. So, did the Saturday storms or any kind of storms look like any kind of tornado threat? Mike, a little too early to tell on that. It doesn't look like on Saturday we'd have a big tornado threat around here. And the reason why I say that, I'm looking at some of the shear numbers, which shows how much churning of wind with height that we have. And it's not off the charts by any means on Saturday, but sometimes these storm systems can get sneaky. And especially if that area of low pressure comes close to us, you tend to get a little bit of shear along with that because you get the churning of wind along the low pressure, and then you get the surface wind that comes in a different direction. So it's definitely something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Anytime there's a severe weather possibility across Northwest Indiana this time of year, it's you can't rule out tornadoes. So we'll have to see how it evolves. We'll have to see how the models handle this system with any sunshine or any daytime heating we get on Saturday. But it's something I'll keep a close eye on for sure. Yeah, Mike says we don't need any more rain. Farmers need to plant. Mike, you've had more rain down towards Indianapolis. I'll tell you, there's been some spots in Northwest Indiana that haven't had a lot of rain in the year so far. We've been wet recently. We've had, obviously the muddy paws coming in with the dogs and stuff like that. That's spring. But it's real hodgepodge up in Northwest Indiana. There's some spots that are average right now. There's some spots that are 2 inches above average. So it really depends on where you are. Alyssa, it doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit of rain, and yes, there's some snow mixing in with it tonight. This is going to continue overnight tonight. It's nothing real heavy. The morning commute looks just fine. We'll likely have some stuff going around in terms of some rain, maybe some leftover snowflakes. But overall, I'm not anticipating anything major tomorrow morning. Maxwell, you're welcome for sure. Let's see. Mike says, not question, but current weather. Have you ever been giving a forecast live on air and had to take cover during a tornado or thunderstorm warning? That's really interesting, Mike. We've had, so when I was down in Georgia, I was at NBC in Georgia for 3 years before coming here. I did, it was 3 or 4 hours. I think it was that long. Maybe it was 1 or 2 hours straight of severe weather. We had, a tornado outbreak that moved through. We do tornado outbreak and tornado coverage all the time down there. But anyway, there was one particular storm that was coming in, and it was bad. There was a tornado warning with it. And I was like, that's close to the station. We lost power. It knocked out the power at the station about the time that we would need to take cover. And we were off air. We didn't have a backup generator down there. And we had to go off air. So we went Facebook Live, using our Wi-Fi from our phone service. And that was right at the time that we had to take cover. And the studio was in the basement. The sales team was on the top floor. So we were already in the safest place we could be. But that was probably the closest I've come to having to forecast a tornado event while being on air. It gets kind of tricky, but most TV studios are the centermost place, and sometimes they're on the lowest floor, and that tends to help. So you don't have to go anywhere. But yeah, it gets a little crazy. Anne asked a good question. Will it be windy? And it's going to be breezy the next couple days. Saturday's the day when we up that wind and it become windy around here. I can show you here some of the modeling in terms of this. I think you can still see us. Yeah. So this is the wind as we go through time. So a little breezy tomorrow, not a big deal. A little breezy as we get into Friday. But then you can see the weekend. Here comes this low, and you can see some of this wind kind of coming in from the west. That's with that low pressure where our severe threat would come from. And you can see gusts 30 miles per hour or so. So nothing too crazy with that. This isn't an incredibly strong low pressure or anything like that, but it's definitely going to get breezy, if not windy, around here on Saturday, something that we would normally deal with if we were to warm up in the spring this time of year. Mary, it's going to be interesting. I think we'll get some dry weather on Saturday at some point. I would imagine once that warm front goes through Friday night, we'll have some kind of window in there where we may squeak out some nice hours on Saturday. So I wouldn't rule it out to being canceled quite yet. It also depends on how much rain we get Friday night. As that warm front comes in, we'll likely trigger some thunderstorms Friday night. Again, not severe. We talked about that beginning of the newscast. But some of those thunderstorms may produce some heavy rain, and that would make sloppy fields, and you know how that goes with softball. Or t-ball, yeah, equally muddy, right? So we'll see, but I wouldn't rule it out yet. I would keep it on the schedule, but just keep in mind, if we get heavy rain Friday night, that may cancel things, or Saturday, if this front comes in earlier and we get it early in the day, that would do it too. But we may have a window right now. I'm kind of feeling like we will have that window. All right. Okay. I think that's it. Everyone else good? Hopefully you're enjoying your week. I know it's kind of depressing with the cold temperatures we've had. I get it. We're all in this together, right? But we'll get out of it. I'm telling you, I'm really optimistic about this forecast as we get into the weekend and on into next week. I think spring is finally going to feel like spring. We're not promising 80s or anything like that, but I think at this point we'll take 50s, but we'll take 60s and even some 70s here in the forecast, and we certainly have those for you. Okay. All right. I guess that's it. We'll get you on your way here on this Wednesday evening. I really appreciate you joining us for our Regional Weather Live here. We'll do it again on Sunday. Until then, we've got Friday night storms to track, Saturday storms to track. We'll have updates on regionweather.com. We'll also have them on our Region Weather Facebook page, as always. All right. Guys, have a good night. Take care of yourselves. Get some tart cherry juice and get some good sleep tonight. All right. Thanks.